I keep telling people this. There are so many things I could have done career-wise, but why this? Why software engineering? 5 years ago, if I had taken filmmaking seriously at the same time that I started to learn how to code, I should be working on a film set somewhere right now. The same way, if I had taken sound engineering and design seriously at the same time I started to learn how to code, by now I should be a sound engineer or be a music producer. Last week, I just kept asking myself, what on earth made me dedicate my life towards being a software engineer? I was looking for my why, and after sitting with that thought for hours, it finally clicked, and it's an interesting story. Let's roll the clock back to 2018. I was this 16-year-old boy in Lagos, Nigeria, young and hungry to explore so many things, which built my passion for so many different things. I dabbled into filmmaking and video production for some time with a couple of friends at my church, Aziz, Praise, Abraham, and Ademola. Literally some of my best times ever. We also did that professionally and worked on so many gigs for the Nigerian Army headquarters. That's the Nigerian Army badge on my arm. Steez. I also dabbled into sound engineering and music production for some time, but this wasn't as exciting as video production, so I didn't spend more time on it. But I was good at it. I also did graphics and animation, and I was absolutely terrible at it. I also tried singing. Let's not even talk about that. You know what? If you want to see that video of me singing, stick to the end. Then there was programming. I picked up programming in 2019 and I was just as obsessed with it as I was with all the other hobbies I tried. I spent nights figuring out how to use JavaScript to change the background color of a page, killing myself trying to understand the value of React. Like, why can't we just stick to HTML, CSS and JavaScript? Why do we have to make everything complicated? Some days, I would come to school and show my friends the silly little form I just built, and they would all laugh. In July of 2019, I finally graduated high school. I was 17 and I had this excitement to go to college to study computer science. At this point, I was 70% convinced that I wanted to be a programmer. Why? At this point, I actually did not know, but you'll find out soon. I applied to 2 different colleges and I took the JAMB exam, which is like an SAT test, and I failed that test woefully. I got rejected by those 2 colleges and I couldn't retake that exam again until after a year. And I remember clearly sitting in my room crying like, is this where it all ends? But my dad was like, nope, we're going to send you to a computer trade school, what most of you guys know as a boot camp. There you're going to learn everything about, computers and programming. And I was like, bet. I enrolled into trade school in October 2019. It was really interesting and my learning was going great for the most part until COVID hit in early 2020 and we were forced into a lockdown. I stopped attending the bootcamp and started the self-learning route. I began watching YouTube tutorials, stole a friend's hard drive that had a whole bootcamp worth of courses, locked myself at home and started coding. I learned React and PHP and I built my first real project, Niger Daily, which was supposed to be a news blog but turned out to be an engineering nightmare. Nevertheless, I was still excited about it. But here's the thing, it was after I built this project that I began to become obsessed about software engineering. And at that time, Nigeria had absolutely 0 tech hubs. No tech meetups, no workshops, nothing. 0 innovation. It was like software engineering was something foreign to the ears of a typical Nigerian. This forced me to get familiar with the Western tech voices. I started following tech creators like Brad Traversy, Danny Thompson, and Chris Sean. I began paying attention to the tech news and innovations happening in the West. There are so many innovative breakthroughs in fintech software, productivity tools, and many other sectors. I couldn't help but compare the innovations I was reading about to Nigeria's, and it was crystal clear that we were ages behind in innovation. Then there was nothing like DoorDash or Deliveroo. If you explained how mobile money worked to a Nigerian, they would think you were crazy. Or they will most likely think you were a scammer. I'm not saying all this to diminish the technology achievements of Nigeria. In fact, as of the time of recording this video, the story is different. There's been significant tech advancements going on, and I only mention all these because This is what defined my why. It gave me more clarity on why I was going to dedicate the next 5 years of my life to studying to become a software engineer, to be a pioneer of innovation in my own country, to inspire and motivate young people to explore software engineering as a career path. Because you can't foster innovation in a place that lacks innovators. It requires people who are naturally curious, creative, and willing to challenge the status quo. But all that changed in a matter of months. In March 2021, I finally got accepted into the Yaba College of Technology to study computer science. And in the same week that I got my acceptance offer, I also got a different news from my dad. He told me we were leaving Nigeria, and we had less than a month to dip. And honestly, I wasn't sure how to feel. If I could describe my reaction at that time, it would have been that of confusion and excitement at the same time. Of course, every Nigerian would be excited, but even if I had to force that feeling, it wasn't genuine. What was going through my head was all of the friendships and memories I've built, and the college admission that I've been crying about for years that I finally got, and all of a sudden you're telling me that I had to leave all of this behind. It was truly a bittersweet moment for me then. In April 2021, we left Nigeria and moved to the United States. It felt like starting life all over again. New country, new culture, new system, and new challenges. Everything I once knew and was comfortable with suddenly felt distant. But more than anything, it meant figuring out my why all over again, trying to discover what drives me in this new environment. And a few months later, I realized my why didn't have to change. It just had to shift. See, here's the thing. Innovation knows no borders or countries. Even though the doubts in my head was telling me that how can you come from a country with absolutely no innovation to a country where innovation breathes and lives and expect to make a difference? I believed that until I realized that innovation never ends. Even though you're in a place where innovation breathes and lives, you don't necessarily have to be a pioneer to make a difference. You can still join in on the innovation and still make a difference. Fast forward to today, this is still what's keeping me going. You can still find that passion to inspire and motivate people to explore software engineering as a career. A field that looks so scary from the outside, but is filled with so much fulfillment on the inside. And also, innovation. I am always striving to put myself in positions to work on really cool and innovative ideas, and I'm happy and grateful I get to do that at my internship. Figuring out your why is what gives you direction and gives your work meaning. I've met a lot of people who feel miserable at their jobs, both tech and non-tech, and this is because they don't have a why, or haven't figured out what their why is. Don't get me wrong, there's some jobs you just have to do to put food on the table. But if you're going to choose something as a career and expect fulfillment from it, you need to have a why. Motivation from a new job will fade. Excitement from your new job will fade. But your purpose does not. When you're tired, when something fails, or when your next phase seems so unreachable, your why is what makes you get up and keep going. It gives you endurance beyond your present emotions. It's never too late to figure out what your why is and let it drive everything you do. If you can't figure out what your why is, or you simply have no why, it should be a wake-up call for you to reevaluate your career choices.
Olúwa ò ṣe, wọ́n mọ̀ bówó ṣe ń wọlé. Dem dey say me dey calculate na kówó láwọlé. You know, it's your boy AZ. You can call me Z, yeah, I like that one. Happy Sunday to everybody listening to the sound of my voice. Pastor Aziz, told ma, happy Sunday. I wish you the best, man. Go church, oh, if you like. They go boy house. You know what they find. The thing where they find, they go give you the thing, it will tire you.